Today we're going to go over some commonly asked questions seen in expat Facebook groups. I joined a bunch of these Facebook groups when we decided that we're going to move to Mexico, and I feel like I see the same questions almost every day. Questions like, is it safe? How do I find a job in Mexico? What are some things that I should bring with me from the United States that I can't get in Mexico? And questions about cost of living. Can I really live for under $2,000 in Mexico? If you are curious about the answers to any of these questions, stay tuned because we're going to cover each of them in depth.
The first commonly asked question that we keep seeing in these Facebook group pages is Mexico safe? What do you think? Is Mexico safe?
I don't know. Is Washington, D.C. or New Orleans safe?
Ooh, I don't know.
Well, lucky for you, I looked up a bunch of numbers this morning because I feel like people in the United States have been subjected to so much propaganda about Mexico being unsafe and scary, and there's always travel advisories to not go to Mexico. There are parts of Mexico where there is much more violence because of cartels. Statistically speaking, Mexicans face a higher level of violence than Americans do in Mexico. For a foreigner in Mexico, you are going to be more safe, but also safety is so subjective. I don't see anyone asking about moving to places where there's high cartel activity.
Right.
And so that's going to be where most of that violent crime is concentrated. So the first numbers I'm going to put up on the screen, I looked up a bunch of different U.S. cities and the homicide rate, because I feel like when people are talking about safety, like they're scared of like being shot, kidnapped, or what else? Like
getting robbed? All right, so let's take a look at some U.S. cities and see what their homicides rates are. So per 100,000 people, in New Orleans, you have 58.4. In St. Louis, you have 57.2. Baltimore, 44.7. Philadelphia, 34.1. And Memphis, 32.6.
What about some of the cities in Mexico that people move to?
In Puebla, there's 25.2 per 100,000 people. And if you look at Querétaro, you're only looking at 9.
What about Oaxaca and Mérida? Because I know those are popular places also.
So if you're thinking about moving to Oaxaca, you're looking at 4.39. That's pretty low.
That is pretty low.
If you look at Yucatan, you're looking at only 2.
2.
Yeah.
That's super low. I think that Oaxaca and Yucatan together are probably less than the Austin rate. I think Austin is like 8.
Yeah, no, these places seem pretty safe.
Your chance of experiencing gun violence is pretty low.
Are lower, yeah.
Yeah. I also got some screenshots of the number of deaths in the United States due to firearms versus the number of deaths in Mexico due to firearms. What are those numbers?
In the U.S., approximately 48,204 people are killed by firearms. And when we take a look at Mexico, we're looking at 19,050 people.
That's less than half.
Right.
It probably has something to do with the fact that guns are not manufactured in Mexico.
Right. So apparently over 70% of firearms are traced back to the U.S.
If you want to own a gun in Mexico, you need to really go through like a rigorous process. In all of Mexico, there's only one place in Mexico City where you can buy a gun. And in order to be licensed to own that gun, you need to provide like 6 different documents. And each gun has to be registered. You can't take it outside of your house.
Right.
Like it's really strict. And generally the culture in Mexico is that people don't want guns. They don't own guns. I feel like most of the people who do own a gun probably live more rural, I would imagine. They own lands.
Yeah, people get like hunting rifles, right?
You're probably not going to be worried about going to Walmart and getting shot.
Yeah, people don't walk around with guns.
In schools in the United States, active shooter drills are a regular thing. So the chance of experiencing some kind of violent crime is just lower. Like if you're not getting into situations where you're buying drugs, then you're probably not going to be targeted for crime. I feel like you're more likely to experience petty crime, crimes of opportunity or desperation, like theft or, something like that, which I feel like I'm going to experience that in the United States. It's no different. I think that it's really important to just, have common sense. There are some things in Mexico that you have to think about that maybe you don't think about here, even though you probably should. A common thing that I have seen is people do get their phone taken from them, and it's usually by a person on a scooter. I saw some video recently of someone in Guadalajara, and she was waiting for an Uber outside and had her phone out and it was open, and this guy on a scooter smiled at them, then came up on the sidewalk and acted like he was trying to get by, and then when he got next to them, grabbed her phone, and because it was unlocked, he was able to go in and transfer money and all that stuff. And so I feel like for those kinds of things, it would be good to just take some precautions. Don't have a phone that you carry with you that has bank apps or any kind of thing that you want people to get into. Do you feel safe in Mexico?
I think so. My family's actually from Tamaulipas, so there's a lot more violence and homicides and all that there. And we are not involved in any cartel activity or anything of such sorts. So when we visit my grandmother in Tamaulipas, we feel pretty safe. We do occasionally see those people, right?
Yeah.
But they don't mess with you. You know.
So what you're telling me is if you're not involved in cartel activity, then you're probably not gonna.
Right, because you're just like an everyday Mexican, just living your life.
You mean they're not out there trying to kidnap and?
No, nobody's coming to my grandma's house and trying to kidnap them.
Let's go on to the next one.
We need money, right?
Yeah, everyone needs money.
So can I get a job in Mexico? Can I find a job in Mexico?
You could get a job in Mexico because you're a Mexican citizen.
But what if I'm not a Mexican citizen?
Good luck.
You mean I can't just go get a job?
This is one of the more common questions, even more common than is it safe, I think, because I've seen this lately. I think a lot of people in the United States and other countries, Canada even, are wanting to move to Mexico, but they have a job here in the United States that's not remote, and they are trying to figure out how they're going to move to Mexico and get a job. So let's look at some of the different questions. Does anyone have any resources in job search for Mexico? English speaking roles? I have master's degree in international business management. I found some websites, but I still have to use AI translator to switch to English when applying for the job. What are the working conditions in Mexico? Is it easy to get work as an expat? What are the good paying jobs? And then someone else asked, how do people move there and work remotely to pay for living there? I want to go visit often, looking for friends to travel with there. I do sales here and work in an office. I need job ideas to work and live there. You, as a non-Mexican citizen, you're just not going to be able to go get a job.
Yeah, it just seems really hard. And also when you think about how much people are actually making, right? On average, a day's worth of work, you're going to get about $25 to $30.
Yeah, I feel like that's in some places, it's even as low as 13 USD a day. But I feel like the average is about $25 a day.
Okay.
So when you add that up, that's $125 a week and $500 a month. So the average Mexican citizen is making about $500 a month. If you want to go, you got to find a remote job, create your own job. You have to have enough money to prove that you're not going to be a strain on the resources in Mexico, basically. But you're not going to go there and get a job. It's just not going to happen.
It's very unlikely.
Yeah. Cost of living. This is a really hot topic.
Ooh, how much money do you really need?
Well, according to these Facebook groups, let me bring up this one right now. Question: could you honestly live in Mexico on $1,500 a month? And something that I have seen, I didn't take screenshots of it, but something that I've seen is a lot of U.S. citizens saying, I spend the same amount every month as I spent in the U.S. It costs me $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to live in Mexico.
Wow.
Can you live on $1,500?
Well, I assume you could, seeing as how there's people that make way less than that.
Yeah, I mean,
who are Mexican.
Average Mexican makes about $500. So, can you? Yes. Will you? That's up to you. Are you trying to live the same exact life that you live in the United States?
Right. Are you moving to Mexico to live like a Mexican, or to live like you're still in your home country?
I mean, for me, I know that I want to go to a different country and I want to experience life in that country. I don't need to live like I'm living in the United States, and I prefer not to because I'm really unhappy here. And so I feel like there's a different way. You know, you'll see a lot of videos that are going through, you know, rentals online in Mexico showing you $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 apartments. Sure, it can be that expensive, but it can be very affordable if you are living like a Mexican.
If you have certain criteria, right, that is very specific that you need, you're only gonna find that in certain places, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of like cost of living, I mean, you could go as expensive as you want.
Yeah.
Right?
But you can also find $200-$300 apartments. And I feel like those are things that you're not going to find online. I think that a lot of things online are geared towards foreigners who are willing to pay that, and to them that's more affordable. They maybe use a window unit air conditioner, leave it on all day at 60 degrees because it's too hot. I feel like you just have to readjust the way that you're living your life. If you want to go live in like a little expat bubble and you want all your neighbors to speak English, and you're pretty much just trying to be in like the expat community there, it's probably going to be more expensive. But if you go into a neighborhood where pretty much all of your neighbors are Mexican, you know, it's probably going to be a little bit more affordable.
If you're trying to live the same lifestyle, you're going to pay a premium, right? So you're going to pay more on your apartment, the places you go out to eat, the stores that are around you. So I think it just depends on like where you're going to be located.
Yeah. But also, why do you want to go to Mexico and just live the same life that you've been living? Are you not suffering enough here? You got to go somewhere else and suffer there too? Maybe it's time to reevaluate your priorities. Do you really need all these like expensive things that, you know, you're paying for? Or are you going to Mexico to save money and experience culture and something different? Because I feel like that's why we go to different countries, to have a different experience. But yeah, cost of living is relative. If you're complaining about how it costs the same amount, then
you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah, you're the reason why it's costing that much.
So another commonly asked question that we keep seeing in these groups is, what should you bring? Do they have things in Mexico? Can you buy things in Mexico, or should we like just bring everything from the US? Or
I don't know. Can I buy sheets there? Can I buy towels? Do they have furniture? Do they even live in houses in Mexico?
I think they do.
I have a good screenshot because there was a whole conversation about this. the other day. I mean, there's a whole conversation about this every single day, but let me read this one. Someone asked, what are some of the things that are hard/expensive to get in Mexico? We are sending down a trailer full of stuff this fall, and I want to make sure I make the best of it. We are sending mattresses/bedding because we sleep on latex beds, and I'm betting those are hard to find there. Besides that, what else should I prioritize? So for this, I see a lot of people talking about the inferiority of different things in Mexico. People are like, oh, you have to bring sheets, you have to bring towels, definitely bring all your kitchen gadgets. Like, all this stuff is hard to find. Everyone has like a list of things that they have to bring with them because they just cannot find these things in Mexico, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's stores. They have malls. Some of these cities that we've been looking at have tons of malls.
Yeah, like so many. Like, I think I went through a list one day. There was like 7, 8, maybe 10. I don't know. It just kept going. It was just so many malls.
They have everything.
They have everything. I've gone through the Liverpool website just to get an idea of like what furniture prices were. They have West Elm, they have mid-century furniture. If you like nicer sheets, Brooklinen delivers to Mexico. There's a lot of other brands that deliver to Mexico. You can find whatever quality of whatever item that you want to find there. And honestly, thinking about it, now that the United States has all of these tariff things going on, I feel like a lot of the things in Mexico are probably going to ultimately be cheaper than in the United States. You don't have to bring a 30-foot truck of everything. But also, could you imagine like packing up your whole house and then getting there and realizing that half of your stuff just doesn't fit in your apartment?
Oh no. You're telling me my California king size mattress won't fit in my bedroom?
I feel like it would be very expensive to bring a whole house full of stuff with you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about the logistics, right? And well, that's something that we've actually looked at too, whether it'd be worth to have a service that transports all your furniture and such. It seems like the prices vary, but that's something you can do. However, we've also looked at what it would be like to purchase furniture in Mexico, right? Furniture that's like built by Mexicans.
Yeah, I mean, you can go get handmade wood furniture for very affordable prices. And I feel like I would rather have something that's handmade and unique than like something that I buy at a big box store.
True. And I think that also adds like it seems more fun, right? Because different parts of Mexico, you can get different products, right?
Yeah.
So I think that at least for us, we're not taking much. We're just taking our tech and our clothing, but we're really looking forward to buying furniture in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that you have to think about too is that a lot of apartments, like especially short-term rentals, like are furnished.
They're furnished, yeah.
So you don't even need to have furniture with you. But yeah, you can buy local handmade things. Even like rugs. Like I feel like I would rather go find someone who's like weaving a rug like right there.
And I mean, just support local.
Yeah, you're also just like you're stimulating the economy. Support the local economy, support the local artisans and the builders, buy some local furniture. But if you really have to have that like oversized L-shaped sectional couch, you could probably go to Liverpool and get it.
Yeah, I think there's generally just like a very big misconception about the items you can find in Mexico and the quality of the items. I think growing up, my parents, when we would go to Mexico, they would take certain things, right? Like TVs and certain other pieces of home. What am I trying to say?
Like appliances?
Yeah, appliances, right? Or there would be people from the rancho who'd be like, hey, can you bring me like this very specific thing? But as like time has progressed and like, you know, that's not really a thing anymore. You can just go buy a TV there.
Yeah. I commented on one of these threads and I was like, honestly, like for me personally, I don't want to bring all my stuff from the United States because like I'm trying to live a different way of life. I feel like living in the United States, I overconsume. You know, I feel like people are really attached to stuff and things here, and I'm trying to have a different experience. And I feel like once I'm in Mexico, my mindset is going to shift from, oh, I need to buy more things to, wow, I need to have more experiences. And so all of this stuff, like, I'm just not going to need it. It's not going to be important to me. And like I'm trying to make a shift and I want to live a different lifestyle. So, you know, I feel like a lot of stuff is like kind of a burden. People have like attachment issues that they haven't worked through. So they feel like they need to bring their whole house.
I mean, that was one of the things that we found when we were researching how to move things to Mexico, right? People who had all this sentimental value attached to some of their items and feeling like they had to bring them over. But I think even in that, there's that challenge, right? Challenge of like, really like digging a little deeper and finding out like, do you really need that? Like, why do you need that so badly that you want to like bring it from Canada?
Oh, and that reminds me, I saw this other post earlier today, specifically from Canada, and I thought this was like kind of crazy. So someone from Canada said, "We are Canadians, plan on building a house in Mexico in the near future. The plan was to buy some building materials here in Canada. Do we have to pay tariffs on personal building materials?" What I want to know is why do you want to bring building materials from Canada into Mexico? Like, you're going to probably have to pay import taxes, but the building materials in Canada are like for that climate and that landscape, and the materials in Mexico are going to be different.
And, you know, if you hire an architect and design a house, right, people do have to import things, but it's kind of mind-baffling that you want to.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just buy it there? If you're bringing like different, like, I don't know, a sink or a bathtub, like plumbing might be different. Like wiring is different. They're going to do things differently in Mexico than in Canada. And wouldn't it suck to like bring a sink there and realize you can not find any pipes or fittings that like work with this specific sink that you brought? I don't know. It seems silly to me to like want to bring building supplies all the way from Canada. You not only have to like leave Canada, you have to go all the way through the United States, and then you have to go into Mexico with what? A truck full of wood and bathtubs? I feel like they're gonna like charge you a lot at the border. If you bring a truck full of stuff, I feel like there's no real clear-cut answer on how much you're gonna have to pay. It's whatever they decide, whatever person you get at the time and what they decide. You might not get any of your stuff scrutinized at all, or you might have to pay like $2,000. You never know. So not only did it cost you like $6,000 to move your stuff, but now you have to pay extra on top of that. Then you get to your apartment and realize, oh crap, half my furniture won't fit. So now you've spent so much money to bring half the stuff here that you can't even like use. The good news is that Mexico has stores. You can get everything you need. Nothing is inferior. I mean, I go to Walmart down the street here and like I'm going to get a different set of sheets than I'm going to get at Target or Brooklyn, you know? Like you're going to have all different kinds of quality.
And you can also order things online.
Yeah, they have Amazon in Mexico. I think we covered all of the more common questions that we've seen on Facebook groups.
Yeah.
If you have any particular questions that you've been wondering about, or if you are also a member of these Facebook groups and you have something that you notice is repeatedly asked, definitely let us know in the comments. I feel like we could talk about this stuff forever. I feel like there's a lot of other things that foreigners ask about Mexico because they have this like I don't know what perception they have.
Special view.
Yeah, a special view. But if you have any other questions that you want to ask, or if you've noticed anything, definitely let us know, because I feel like we could probably talk about this some more.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't forget to give this video a like. It helps us out. We are a small channel. We're trying to grow. We're in the process of selling our house right now. We don't know when that is going to happen or if it's going to happen.
But we do know one thing.
At some point, we're going to Mexico.
Yes. And so this is our way of documenting our process and sharing with other people out there that are also doing this.
Yeah.
The things that we're learning on the way.
Yeah, and eventually we're going to be able to like make videos where we're traveling around, showing you different places. But in the meantime, we are stuck here and we are just thinking of all the different things that we can research and talk about before we go. So subscribe to our channel, help us grow, and we'll see you soon.